Hello and welcome back to the Red Path. It's me, Jamie. I know it's been a little while since I've done a video. Been some stuff going on, which is like an excuse I've always got. But anyway, I'm doing a quick video now on a GT I just got back from yesterday, CAGBASH, down in Cincinnati, Southern Ohio. Had an amazing time. It was a great event. Just wonderful experience. Great games, great opponents. Met some really cool people, talked to people I already knew, my local sort of team or area. The guys that I play with all the time in RTTs and stuff did really well as well. I think took 8 of the top 10 spots, which was crazy because we're not based in Cincinnati. So really good showing out for a lot of different armies, several World Eaters players. One, Kevin, who I met and hung out with quite a bit there, he came 3rd overall, went 4-1 and only lost to the event winner, Garrett, one of the my nemesis, Garrett. Anyway, so I'm going to do this video talking about the event, going to go over my games. I won't go into too much detail because I don't want to bore you with a play-by-play, but it's kind of more going to be focused on my experience going into some very tough armies, namely Guard and Necrons as well, actually. And my first experience going into Demons with the new Codex as well. So a lot to talk about. So you should see on the screen, of course I always get it wrong on that side, there's some photos going on just from some of the battles. There's some of the best painted stuff on there as well. I don't know if it will flash up, but there's two Bloodthirsters and Scarbrand painted in Khorne yellow, like the vegetable Khorne yellow, by Josh Minich, who I played in round 3. Really beautiful army. I don't know if he won. No, I think he came 2nd best painted. But like superb army. And then I didn't get photos of every battle, but there's one of the Guard games on there, both of the Necron games. But yeah, anyway. So it was ended up being, I think, about 60 players, maybe 65. There were probably some drops in there. But it was a decent sized event. 5 rounds over 2 days. We played Abandoned Sanctuaries, mission 21 first, then we played Recover the Relics, then we played Data Scry, and these were all on GW3, which is their kind of new open terrain layout. So you have the 4 big ruins in the top, bottom, and then on the 2 sides. Then you have a non-obscuring piece of terrain in the middle, does have some like ruins in it or something, and then you've got your dents in the corners and stuff. First time using it in real life, played a couple of test games on TTS versus Don Huson on it, and the general consensus from the event was that it's not a great setup. This is nothing against the CAGBASH crew, like they were using it, but it's a thing against the GW for like testing it out. I think they could have done some tweaks to that terrain set, obvious tweaks before even testing it. At least dents in the centre, but the centrepiece should have definitely had it obscuring in my opinion, but maybe like no true line of sight blocking on there, so as soon as you touch it you're just completely visible, but that's besides the point. So yeah, it was a great event, met some great people like I said. So let's actually jump into my first game here. This was against Astra militarum, a chap called Adam. Really cool dude. I will caveat, all my opponents were amazing, had 5 great games, but let me bring up the scores here. Ooh, there we go. So round 1, like I said, was on Abandoned Sanctuaries, which is my least favourite mission. Any World Eaters player will know why. No pre-game moves or infiltrates or anything. The Guard list I was playing against, let me just give you I suppose I should talk about my list first, right? I'll just give a summary because you know what this sort of stuff does. So I had Avocado, I had 3 Masters of Execution. One of the Masters had the Relic to put 6's auto wound on a core unit. 4 squads of Berserkers with Eviscerators, 3 with Icons, 1 didn't because of points. I think I only used the 3d6 stratagem once in the entire event, so no big deal. 2 squads of 3 8-bound and a squad of 4 8-bound. The 4-man had a heavy glaive on there. That was the idea, was throw the 6's to hit auto wound, and we've just got volume of attacks, getting a lot of wounds up. But like it didn't really come up. 2 squads of 3 exalted 8 bound, double chain fists of course, 3 spawn, 2 rhinos, and a land raider. The land raider actually did quite well for me, but it was more a pick of just the models I have painted painted up to a standard I'm happy with to play at an event. And having like 300 points I wasn't sure of, so Land Raider was like, you know what, it just causes a different sort of problem for the opponent. It's T9, I can pop smoke on it, it can hold any of the infantry I need to, and it's a little bit of shooting. It doesn't do bad shooting. I mean, it's not reliable, it's not going to trade in kills unless you're going, you know, into knights or something, but it's just a problem, right? Anyway, so that was my list. My first opponent, as I said, Adam, running Astra militarum. I'm not going to go through everything, but he had a shit ton of, it was Cadians, born soldiers, a lot of infantry, 2 squads of Kassakin, 2 sentinels, 1, 2, 3 Leman Russes. Let me make sure this is the right list, because I did play Astra militarum too. Yes, it is the right list. I did play guard twice. What did I say? 3 Russes. 1, 2, 3 Russes, a Rogal Dawn, a Chimera, and a bunch of mortars. So, you know, I don't really know what the standard guard list is, but I know it includes Kassakin, Leman Russes, and a lot of infantry. And the Rogal Dawn seems very popular. So, yeah, not the best scenario for me. However, I can't remember exactly, but I'm pretty sure Adam said it was only like his 3rd or 4th game with the guard. He was a good player. He knew the core rules and everything else, but I think he'd just recently transitioned to playing guard competitively. Beautiful looking army, so I think he's a long-term owner of guard. He certainly didn't just jump on in the last few months, I can tell you that for nothing. But this game actually went really well for me. A little bit of, you know, some clutch saves and some clutch charges and things like that, but I did manage to hide the majority of my army turn 1, and I did get lucky and go 2nd, which means he was forced to kind of like push up just a little bit, which means in turn I could push forward and get some slingshot charges and things like that. The biggest play I had in this, I think, which obviously my opponent, I think he'd played against New World Eaters once, so he had a broad understanding of what we did. But what I did is I put my Invocatus and 2 squads of 8 bound on one flank during deployment, and the majority of the rest of my army was either in the centre hiding or on the left side hiding behind Obscure. And the reason for that is, even though I couldn't pre-game move into no man's land, I could pre-game move to the left and hide. So the idea was just switch the play. This is something that anyone who's, you know, heard us talk about Ron from the LVO or ACO or anything like that, that's something he advocates a lot, and it does make sense. And I was like, you know what, let's try it out. And it did bait a couple of his plasma Leman Russes and a commitment of his infantry on my right flank. So then I just completely ignored that flank and basically kept a 1/3 of his army out of contention for the entire game. So that was nice. So then, you know, the Avocado and co just came to the centre and then went up the middle or towards the left. So that was really nice, and I think it helped me overwhelm my left flank, you know, his right flank, and get the win. So you can see from the scores on here, I did take all 3 World Eater secondaries and practically maxed out. Blood Gods do... I dropped 2 points there just because there wasn't enough left to die in the last round, basically. But I really like Blood Gods do on Abandoned Sanctuaries, just because you've got 3 central objectives and you can throw your spawn up or whatnot and just get points. And the amount of targets I had, but for the Blood God, did feel good because I knew I had to engage and kill at some point, so I may as well get points for it. And obviously Pile of Skulls is just an auto 15 for the most part. And I was incredibly lucky on maxing the primary on this one. So really happy with that result. Again, great opponent. He played well, he scored well, 74, but I just got to time up and lock him down. And that was it. So that was my first game. I'd got the worst mission out of the way. I was happy. The problem is, because I scored 98, I was 3rd place after round 1. And joint with Kevin, the World Eaters player, who ended up coming 3rd. And I believe There was a Necrons player, Dan Sanson, number 1, and then there was a Custodies player, Alex Roach, from my local area in 4th. So we was kind of thinking that Kevin would play Dan and I would play Alex, just based on pairings. However, it didn't quite work like that because both of Kevin and I were both tied on 98. The pairings went the other way and I got Necrons. I'm not saying I would have beaten the Custodes, but I think I would have had a better time into them. So here's the score for round 2. I did get the loss in this one. Now, for context, Dan Sanson is a top 100, or last season ended up in the top 100 overall in the ITC. He was 93rd. So he's a very strong player. He comes to a lot of the GTs in this area. He's won a few, always places well, and he was playing Necrons. His list was, and I don't know much about Necrons, but he had Chronomancer, Locust Lord, Technomancer, Trazen, three big squads of Scorpec Destroyers, 3 squads of Tomb Blades, they're their bikes, I know that, and 2 big squads of Locust Destroyers, and then a smaller squad and a Night Scythe and some other little bits in there. And we played Recover the Relics, which is, the old Hammer and Anvil deployment. I went second again, which honestly, going second against Necrons just feels like a very hard matchup, especially when they have the speed that this list does, because he could, teleport a squad of the shooty guys, whatever they're called, and he had a lot of like the Scarabs and stuff could just run up the board and then zone me out, and because I just didn't have any realistic fly or anything like that, I was kind of hemmed in. I did take Pile the Skulls, hoping for an auto 15. Blood Gods Do, I got 11 on, which was fine, and then Raise the Banners, I only got 3 on because of that pressure. I was kind of hoping on like a 10 for Raise the Banners. Yeah, that didn't happen. And he took Treasures, Ancient Machineries, and Assassinate. So the one good thing about this, if anyone's in the Discord, you'll know, because I took the Avocado and 3 Mo's, the whole point of that is to bait my opponent into taking Assassinate so I can try and zero them out, which you can see Dan only scored 4. I did have to sacrifice Invocatus late game, and it was kind of a slight trade up in points. I think I scored 5 and gave away 4, so I got an extra VP by doing it, something like that. But I did keep all my Mo's safe. I just turn 1, put them inside the Land Raider. Come and get the Land Raider. I don't care. So that did work, and you know what? I'm incredibly happy that I stopped a top 100 player scoring 100 with Necrons, which is something that I think is quite a decent achievement. I did score 62, which wasn't bad. Didn't quite hit my 72 cap, but you know what? Those speedy Necrons just came up. They stole my flank, my right flank in turn 2, and I kind of was just whittled into the corner, unable to really engage. You can see from my primary score, only 26 there as well. So I lost, didn't feel bad. I was happy with what I could do. I probably had another 5 or 10 points in me, but it was going to be going second, certainly a game very, very difficult to win. And even if I did go first, by no means win that game. I think it's just a lot closer, certainly. Skill level was certainly in Dan's favour, 100%. But great game. I'm 1-1. I've got a victory. I'm feeling okay, 50% record at this time. However, round 3, when the pairings go up, I get to face Josh Minich, a very competent, very skilled Chaos Demons player who I played last year, and he last season was ranked 76th in the world. So my second and third game in this tournament, I'm playing top 100 ITC players. Josh is a phenomenal player. Like I said, I played him last year in round 1 and got absolutely trounced by his demons. And he's the gentleman who had the yellow Bloodthirsters and Scarbrand photo from earlier. Superb painter, absolutely phenomenal hobbyist, and a great guy as well. Actually met him at the airport when I was going to LVO, and we sort of chatted for a bit. But yeah, great guy. Really beautiful army, incredibly skillful player. Like like I said, top 100. So I'm just like, really, round 3, I've got a loss and I've got to play another superb player. Come on, man. But the slight advantage I had in this, which I think I capitalised on, because it was data scry on this GW3 terrain I talked about. All 4 central objectives on the diagonal were completely open. There was no cover for anything. Now, had I been going into guard or even Necrons or something with a reasonable amount of shooting, it was almost an auto loss if I went second. Going into another combat army, now admittedly he had psychic and stuff, but the majority of his stuff is combat. Okay, we can see what happens here. And you can see from the score there, both our primaries were terrible, and we knew this was going to happen because anything that went on a primary just got killed. Went on a central objective, just got traded down. So 21 to 23 on the primaries, that's including the scans. Then Josh took banners, warp ritual, and reality rebels. I was hoping to neuter his warp ritual a little bit. I think I denied it once because he only needs to get it off 3 times for the 12. Is harder to stop, which I think was definitely the correct choice instead of the other psychic interrogation or whatever it is, which you deny it twice out of 5 times. They're only scoring 9 or something like that. And then reality rebels it's much harder to get than Pile the Skulls, but it is a very sure 15 for demon players, I think, in most situations. Myself, I took Pile, Blood God's doing Blood for the Blood God. I figured it was worth it. I knew I'd be reaching combat. I knew there were plenty of objectives for stuff to die on, and Pile just felt like the 15. So it came down to basically the last turn, and we were looking at things, and I could see the wheels turning in Josh's eyes, and he's, figuring out stuff on some paper, and he just looks up at me and says, yeah, I can't win this. It's like there's going to be like a 5-point differential based on what happens in the last, but it didn't matter what he did. He was thinking about like teleporting here and there, doing the scan, killing units. There was no way he could swing it in the last turn to stop me from winning. He said all you have to do is 1 strategic scan and you get to 72 or something like that. I was like, yeah, well, I'm on 69. I'm not doing the scan. I want to end on 69. But yeah, a phenomenal game. Really good. It was a lot of blood was spilt in that game. Of course, 2 Malay armies, and Khorne was well pleased. But it was close. I think there was. I had a couple of lucky charges and lucky dice rolls, and demon saves. Sometimes they're very strong, and the problem is sometimes they're not. A 4-up is great until it's not, right? So it was just one of those things. It certainly could have gone in Josh's favour, but that's the thing with a dice game, right? Sometimes you get the good luck, sometimes you don't, and this time I got the good luck. However, it was the 3rd game. I'd gone second in all 3. It was the end of the day. I was feeling really good. Like I said, I'd had 3 great opponents, 3 great games, and I was currently 2-1. I was in the positive. I was happy. I knew my goal was really to get 3-2 this week, and I was kind of stealthily hoping for the 4-1. I know I've got one in me. I haven't quite got there yet, but this is only my 3rd GT. I've been to a couple of super majors, but my 3rd GT. I went 1-4 in the first one 2 years ago at CAGBASH. I went 2-1, so 50% record last year at CAGBASH. And I ended up 3-2, so I'm in the right trajectory. So anyway, let's go on to game 4. This is the first game of day 2. We're using GW2, which is much better for Malay armies. It's got 2 central pieces of obscuring in the middle. And the first mission of the day was Death and Zeal. And I went into Alex Mason, who I played last year, and his Necrons. Last year, I got a very close win against him. This is pre-Super Necrons, of course, and this is with 8th edition World Eaters as well. So I knew Alex. It was a very strong player. He's ranked in the top 2,000, which was 500 plays, at least 500 places above me from last year. So much more reps, better events. Knows his rules. He's a codex he's a faction specialist, which I always respect. No shade on people who jump armies, but there's something special when you play a player who, this is my army. This is all I play. I love it. And Alex and I, like I said, we played a year ago. We kind of knew roughly what to expect. Super player. It was a great game. and I did get the 88, which is like the ultimate score, really. It's even better than winning by 69, quite frankly. But you can see it's very close. He actually outplayed me on the primary, which, you know, is probably going to happen with Necrons. The thing is, I did get to go first here. I forgot to talk about Josh's list. Josh ran a Be'lakor, Disciples of Be'lakor with just a lot of everything. There was a lot of Flamers, Beasts of Nurgle in there, the Slanesh chariots or seekers and stuff. But Alex's list, let me just have a look here. He had a Catacomb Command Barge, he had a Chronomancer, Technomancer, a 20 blob of Warriors, 2 Catan, which is a problem. He had the Nightbringer and the Void Dragon, 2 5-mans of Scorpic Destroyers, 2 squads of Wraiths, squad of Tombblades, a squad of Locust Heavy Destroyers, and a Nightside. So another really, you know, quite fast and very difficult Necron army for me to deal with. Like the 20 squad of Necron Warriors, I put, I think, 2 squads of 3 8-bound and then a single remaining Exalted 8-bound into them and didn't kill them. Because obviously after each activation, they just, you know, resurrect up. So, yeah, that was a tough army, not to mention all the other things going on there. I did bring down one of the Catan, combination of trading a Berserker unit, putting all the Land Raider shots in there, and then I think it may have taken a wound from an explosion as well, which kind of just gave me what I needed to kill it. But it was great. That single Exalted that I talked about a second ago, he was the one that just charged in and just punched the head off of that guy to take the final 3 wounds. But this was another amazing game. I did get to go first, which is, I honestly believe, is what won me the game here, because it was Death and Zeal, so I could just push forward so close because it's just the circle cut out in the middle. So I was just in his guts straight away. He did screen me well, but I did manage to trade a small man 8-bound, or it may have been the 4-man, for his raids, and also locking down several units when they tagged him, because I knew his warriors weren't very good in combat and some of the other things there. So I just kept him hemmed in. I knew I had to trade down in points, but to gain in early turns of board control, basically, which is what I did. The plan came through, and I did get the win, 88-77. So, but yeah, another super fun game. I always, you know, I look forward to playing Alex next year, hopefully. I've got a lot, all my opponents I'd love to play again, but, you know, this is 2 in a row for us. Great guy, and I think Alex does follow the channel occasionally, so if you're watching, mate, it was a great game, and I look forward to playing against you again. This did put me, however, in 3-1, so I'm like, okay, there's a chance I get the 4-1, but you know, I'm guaranteed the 3-2, which is fine. So when pairings were going up, I looked, and I got Astra Militarum again. And this gentleman, Matt Estrada, he won CAGBASH last year. He was ranked 101st in the ITC last year. So essentially, I played 3 top 100 players out of 5 games. Matt, super guy, super chill player. Can tell why he's up there in rankings. Yeah, this list. All right, let me go over here. So it's Born Soldiers, of course. We've got the Command Squad. We've got Lord Solar. We've got the Tank Commander Gatekeeper. 1, 2, 3, 4 Cadian squads. A big Bully Bulgrin squad, which was nice. 2 big blobs of Kassakin. I think they are identical, but only one has the Barbican's key thing. I'm not sure exactly how it works, but it's 2 kill squads, right? A couple of Sentinels, and then 3 squads of Mortar. So 9 mortars in total. Then he had, he actually run out of space in BCP to put his whole list. So he had, I think, 3 Lehman Russes, maybe it was 2, I can't remember, and then a Dawn as well. Yeah, this was pretty nasty. I can't remember who went. I went first, which I was okay with. This was secure missing artifact. Move the objectives around at the start of the game. I was pretty nervous in this game because I knew Matt's reputation of being a very, very strong player. I knew he'd won the previous event a year ago. Luckily, and I hadn't talked to him before or met him. awesome guy to talk to. I will say at this point of the event, I was basically my back was shot. I have some recurring issues with my back, which whatever, and I honestly considered dropping the second day because I woke up in a lot of frustrating pain. But I was like, you know what, we can eat some Advil and we'll power through. So I made it through. And we had the worst physical table of the battlefield. We were in the back corner, so you'd have to walk around like 3 tables to come to the other side. I was like, dude, I'm sorry. Would you mind moving my models for me on that side of the board? Absolutely. He even came round and helped me with stuff a couple of times because I'd sit down, I like couldn't get up. It was pretty bad, but absolutely amazing opponent. Like as a person and also as a player, you can see from the score. I lost this one 85 and he scored 95. Primary was pretty even. I only got the 43, but it was pretty good. Blood for the Blood God got 10. I maxed pile the skulls, of course. Blood God's Due was a bit weaker, which maybe wasn't the best choice for me on this mission. But I went with it. 5 games in, I'm maybe not thinking as clear as better players should be. And then Boots on the Ground was maxed for him. Flexible Command was maxed for him. Raise the Banners. He did get 10. I think he was a bit overly concerned. I did hold him back early game, but once my resources were depleted, he was able to just banner in the last turn or the second to last turn, and then max out and he'd score 10. So realistically, if I could have just neutered him a bit more, maybe been a bit more aggressive than I was at first, because I think I was a little too cagey. He completely backlined his deployment, which I was like, okay, that's kind of good for me. But I was aware of, but I'd just kind of forgotten, and I'd even asked him, and he'd confirmed how fast the Rosses can be with their advance and shoot without penalty. Those guys, because they get +2 to move as well as advance. They come up. He got a couple of Russes touching the terrain, or I think a Dawn and a Russ touching the central terrain straight away. After I'd given him a commitment, and what he shot at was deleted. I did kill a decent amount of his army. Obviously, you can see from the Blood God score, I got quite a bit. But he played it very smart, and he only gave me generally Lehman Russes to go into, which I don't necessarily kill straight away. Eviscerators are only strength 7, so you're wounded on 5s. Berserkers don't pick up Lehman Russes anymore. Avocado's no good into Lehman Russes. It wasn't the ideal situation because he was such a good player that knew how to counter me, or very quickly figured out how to counter me. There was a great little moment in round 4 or 5, I can't remember where, he charged his Bullgreen into 3 Berserkers, I think 3 or 4 Berserkers. It was like a depleted squad in the middle, charged his 5-man Bullgreen squad in, so I was like, okay, I should just pick him up, but sometimes make your opponent roll dice, right? They're very similar in attack output to a squad of Berserkers, right? Maybe a little bit stronger or something. He hit with less than half, then he only wounded with like 4 or 5, and then I made all the saves, so he didn't kill a single Berserker with his 5 Bullgrin. And the look on his face was great. He was like, okay. So then I hit back. I think I killed, and I'd spent to fight on death, and it just didn't happen. So I think I killed 1 or 2, and then I think I got Master of Executions in there, picked up another 2. I didn't wipe the squad because I was so far back, but it's just one of those moments it's like, man, Berserkers just tanked, and they shouldn't have done. They should have just been picked up. But, that's like one of the things. I could have just picked them up. In many situations I would. But I was like, we've got plenty of time left in the round. Let's see what happens. And it kind of helped out. Actually, it probably helped him, because if he'd killed those Berserkers, I would have got another point. But anyways, besides, it's not the point here. So overall, I had an amazing time. 5 amazing opponents. I would love to play each and every one of them again. If any are watching, thank you for the great games. Whether you kick my ass or I beat you, all my opponents were gracious in defeat and gracious in victory, and it was just great, which is what I want. That's far more important to me. It's slightly more important to me than getting the 4-1, which I was hoping for. So I can't wait for the next GT I go to. There should be a couple coming up in the summer, in the fall, nearby where I'll be able to get to. So I'm pumped. obviously going to have RTTs in the meantime. I'm going to try out some new things. I will say from my list, the Land Raider was fine, but it is the first thing to go. It's not an efficient choice. I knew that building the list, but again, like I said, it was related to what I had ready, battle ready, standard painted to take to the event. Just because we lost so much of a fucking codex. So yeah, hopefully this video, gives you a little bit of insight. Like I said, I didn't go too much into the tactics and the play-by-plays, just because my memory is terrible. But we can do some work. We can score well. Like my losses, like this 85 loss here, or 95 to 85 loss. I scored 85 points against a top 100 player. I won a game at 88-77 against Necrons, against a very good player. I mean, against Josh, it was a lower scoring game, but it was, like I said, it was data score. That was, look at our primary scores. If you throw 20 each on the primary for a more realistic game, it's a high scoring game. I lost to Dan. Yeah, I only scored 62, but I still felt that was a decent score, especially into Necrons, and I held back some of his scoring, so I'm very happy with that. And then a 98 win round one into guard against a very good guard player. So overall, amazing event. I was very happy with the army, very happy with, I think I've grown in skill as a player, really been thrown in. It's mostly been TTS, but just getting in the reps and getting the army, back to where I need it to be. I'm still not muscle memory with it, which is frustrating. I won't say it's embarrassing, but like when I have to check my codex for something, I'm like, man, I should know this. But it's like, I've got 3 or 4 new weapon types and I just can't get it in there. But I'll get there. So yeah, let's just wrap it up because I'm rambling at this point. Alright folks, if you haven't already, please join our Discord. I'd love to have you in there, whether you're a World Eaters player or not. Just jump in, see what's going on, have a chat. You know what, if you are playing against World Eaters a lot and want some tips, we'll help you out. It's all about a game. There's plastic toy soldiers. We're all in this for the fun, but it'd be great if you'd also play World Eaters as well. But yeah, alright folks, until the next one, stay healthy, stay safe, and kill main burn.